In Excel you often have to deal with dates. In this video we will do 9 different subjects about dates. Let's start with what are dates. You can use in Excel the today's function. Equals today, open close parentheses, and what it does, it gives you today's date, which is today, February 15th. You could have also used now. What is the difference between the two? Now also gives you the time. So be careful later on if you are going to search for dates and you have used now, that you will only find these dates that were at midnight, 000. Otherwise you have to use today. So what is Excel doing in the background? I'm doing Control tilde. The tilde is somewhere located below the escape key. There is the function that we used. I'm going back to the normal view, Control tilde. So now we are going to do something else. Instead of using a function, I'm going to use for record keeping today's date and tomorrow's date. I can use Control semicolon and it puts today's date in there. If I had done Control Shift semicolon, then I would just get the time. If you want both for whatever reason, you do Control semicolon space Control Shift semicolon and you get the date and the time. What is really going on in the background? If you are not in America but for instance in Europe or in Asia, you might use a different format. It doesn't really matter which format you choose, for in the background, Control tilde, Excel works with a number. This is the number of days since the beginning of the previous century. And the time is between 0 and 1. So today's date and time here is done this way, but that is basically 42,781.4541. So 0.5 would be noon. That is really the number in the background. So once you know that, Control tilde, I'm going to make a listing from Monday through Friday in 2 weeks. So I just copy that Monday down. And notice that you got a little box at the bottom. And when you click on there, you can choose fill the weekdays, for instance, for we probably don't want Saturday and Sunday. So we get Friday, Monday, Tuesday, etc. Today happens to be a Wednesday, so I'm going to put in there today's date, but as a record date, Control semicolon. If I copy that down, I can do that with a double click this time. I have to make sure that I skip the Saturday and the Sunday. So only weekdays. So we'll see it skips from 217 to 220. You can also do that backwards. So I'm going to that copy button and I'm going back there. That looks all nice, but sometimes, especially when you work with older system and older records, you have dates like this. And that is something that Excel doesn't recognize. So what are we going to do? We select that column and we are going to split it into 3 sections. So I can talk to the year and the month part and the date part. You do that by going to Data, Text to Columns, and in this case I'm going to use Fixed Width. Click Next and split it after the year entry and after the month entry and then the day entry and finish. It puts that in the next 2 columns. Be careful that there is nothing in there, for you will delete what is in there. So now I can make a date according to Excel standards. We do that with equal sign, the function date, and date has 3 arguments. Which year do you want? Comma. Which month do you want? Comma. And which day do you want? And close your parentheses. And that is a date in a format that Excel understands. Again, in the background you will see Control tilde, those functions of course. If you really want those dates to be finalized, you have to do Control C and you can copy it back in here as a pay special and do just the values. So now we have in the background no more functions, but we have those weird numbers. Yeah, what is weird? It's great for calculations. So now it's easy to count the number of days. Let's say you have invoices, and this is today's date, control semicolon, and the next one we are going to bring up by 1 day or 2 days, whatever. So that is 2, 16, 17, 18. So that when is that invoice amount due? 30 days later. So I'm going to put in there a formula that says equals the cell to my left plus 30, accept it and copy it down. You realize I can also copy that to the right now, for it will always look for a cell to my left plus 30. So in 90 days that would be the date. Sometimes you want to calculate what is the seniority of someone. If you know the date of hire, what is the seniority? There is no real function that does that in Excel, so I have to use existing functions, which is today's date minus the date we hired you, that is the number of days, divided by 365, probably 0.25 because of the leap years. And we take the integer part of it, that rounds it down, for my seniority doesn't go from 9 to 10 until the year has completely passed. So equal sign, I start the int function, open parentheses, and then I need a subtraction, so I put it inside parentheses. I need today's date, which is today, open close parentheses, minus the day to my left, close your parentheses for the subtraction, and divide by 365.25 and close your int function. That is 34 years, and that will adjust, of course, because I use today and not a specific date. Then we have sometimes that we want to find in which year was that sale or whatever you are talking about, and which quarter was it. The year is very simple. Equals, there is a year function that finds the year of that specific number that is behind that day to the left, and it will find what year that was. There is a month function, there is a day function, but there is no quarter function. So I have to use existing functions, and that is the round up function that always rounds upwards. The month number divided by 3, and I round it up to 0 decimals. So equals round up. Okay. The month, which is basically the function month, of the date in C2, okay, divide that by 3, comma, and round it up to 0 decimals, and we got 4, 2, I did that in the same column. Now a nested do, so sometimes do in 30 days, that is not always exactly what you want. That equals the cell to my left plus 30, but that could be on a Saturday or a Sunday. So we have that this happens to be a Sunday, because I formatted everything that way. I just go to format the cells, and I choose a certain format for that weird number in the background. Okay. So, but I need to know what weekday is that. Is that Sunday number 1, 2, 3, 4? There is a function that does that. It says the weekday of that serial number to my left, which is a serial number as we found out. And it will tell you that that weekday is 1, the beginning of the week. So it is due on which weekday? I'm going to do it the simple way, equals if that cell to my left happens to be 1, comma, then I want to add to the due days plus 1, comma, another if that cell to my left happens to be a Saturday, which is 7, comma, then I want the due day plus 2 days, comma. Otherwise, I want that due date that I had found already. And close your if statement twice. So that is Monday and not Sunday. Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday. All those are fine. And the last one, if I copy it down, that should be Monday. Of course, you could have done that all in one step. I leave that up to you. Sometimes you want to find out, if a certain date is there, what is the next Friday after that date. The formula is a little more complicated. You take today's date based on the year of that invoice, the month of that invoice, and the day of that invoice, plus 6 minus the weekday of that we happen to have. I will let you do that on your own just to save some time, and then you will notice that it will find the corresponding Friday of that week. Then the end of the month, that is sometimes important to know too. That is basically a simple one. It is the date function, the year of that date, the month, but you add plus 1 and you take day 0. I'm just going to do it one time. Equals, based on the year of the day to my left, then the month of the day to my left, but plus 1, comma, and the day is 0. So not day 1, but the one before it. So the end of the month is 2/28. Apparently that is not a leap year. And I copy that down. It's the end of each month. January 31st, December 31st, etc. So then I also have a way to find out whether we have a leap year or not. I did that here. I took all the 1st of February, 17, the year 2018, etc. And I did that same formula as before. I took the year, the month, and the day. In this case I used day 0, but you could just have typed 0. And when you copy that formula down, you will see that only 2020 is a leap year in this series of dates. And then there is one more function that I want you to know about, because it is not mentioned officially. It will not pop up when you type it, so be aware of it. If you go to FX, you will not find date diff for some weird reason. And it has 3 arguments. The older date, the newer date, and then the third argument is a literal Y for the year, a literal M for the month, and a literal D for the day. There is no week one. So we are going to start the date diff function. Equals date diff. Just type it, though nothing will pop up. We need the earlier date, but be careful, that date should not change when we go to the right. So we have to lock column A, but not the 5. For when we go down we want it 6, etc. We do that with F4. F4 is the lock key. And as I said, we want A to be locked. Now they are both locked, the column and the row indicator. So do F4 again. Now the row is locked, we don't want that. You want the column locked, but not the row. Comma. Then you want today function, comma, and then instead of typing a D, I'm going to use that D and that M and that Y, so I don't have to adjust my formula all the time. So I need to refer that cell, but in this case I want it always in 4, C4, D4. So I lock the 4, press F4 again, lock the 4 but not the B, close your D and enter. Copy it down, and I can also copy it to the right. So I will see that only in 2016, that is 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 25 months ago, in 2015, etc. That's what the day diff function does. If you want to see in the background, this is what we got in the background. Control tilde. Good luck with dates and times.